Good evening, everyone. Today is Wednesday, November 17th, 2021, and the time is 7:07. My name is Michael Paylor. I'm the hearing officer designee at this hearing for the Montgomery County Department of Transportation, or MCDOT. Here with me this evening to conduct this public hearing is Mr. Dan Sheridan, Chief of Planning and Design Section of the Division of Transportation Engineering, or DTE, for Montgomery County's Department of Transportation. Ms. Angel Chang, who is the project manager of Planning and Design Section of DTE, and Mr. Eric Willis, who is the Chief of Property Acquisition of DTE. Mr. Sheridan will be providing the information and details regarding the proposed project. Tonight's hearing is being held virtually and is being recorded. To obtain a copy of this recording, please contact Lori Main, whose contact information is posted at the top of this chat of the virtual platform. Also, please note that your video camera is turned off by default this evening. This is to reduce the bandwidth of the meeting, and we request that you please do not turn your camera on during the hearing. Likewise, your microphones have been muted. Once the testimony portion of this hearing begins, those who wish to testify will be asked to raise hand, and we will call on and unmute the individual when it is their turn to speak. The raise hand icon is located on the bottom of the screen under the reactions button. You may raise your hand at any time during the testimony portion of the hearing. We will call on you to provide your oral testimony and unmute your microphone when it is your turn to speak. Written testimony and comments may be submitted as well and will be considered with the same weight as oral testimony. Following the testimony portion of this hearing, we will hold a question and answer session if time allows. During that time, you may raise your hand to ask a question, or you are welcome to type your question in the chat box by clicking on the chat button at the bottom of your screen. Thank you. Tonight's hearing is being held pursuant to Section 4953 of the Montgomery County Code. The purpose of a public hearing is to obtain testimony regarding this project. Testimony received may influence the final design plans. Your comments should be focused entirely on the Dale Street Shared Use Path and Safety Improvements Project, which is the topic of discussion. All interested persons are entitled to be heard at this hearing. However, the testimony portion of this hearing is not a forum for dialogue, questions and answers, or cross-examination. Please direct your remarks to the Dale Drive Shared Use Path and Safety Improvements Project that is the subject of this hearing. If comments stray into areas not related to this project, I will ask that you refocus your comments to the subject project. Following the conclusion of this public hearing, the record will remain open for 2 weeks to allow any person who was unable to attend this hearing an opportunity to have their comments included in the public record and be fully considered. The official closing date by which all comments and testimony must be received is Wednesday, December 1, 2021 at 6:00 p.m. Submissions should be mailed to submissions should be emailed to Angel Chang at angel.chang@montgomerycountymd.gov or provided via the online comment form on the project webpage. The comments must be received by the close of the hearing record. After the hearing is concluded and the record is officially closed, I, as the hearing officer, will review and weigh all the information submitted into the public record and make a recommendation to the Director of the Department of Transportation, Mr. Christopher Conklin, for his final decision as to whether the project has been shown to be in the best public interest and whether or not to authorize the project as proposed or any portions thereof. And now, to discuss the shared use path proposal for Dale Drive, I give you Dan Sheridan. Dan?
Good evening, Mr. Paylor, ladies and gentlemen. For the record, I'm Dan Sheridan with Montgomery County Department of Transportation in the Division of Transportation Engineering, and I'm substituting in tonight for Tim Couples, who is the Division Chief. The subject of this evening's public hearing is to consider a proposal to construct an 8-foot wide shared use path with a minimum 5-foot wide grass buffer along the following roadways in Silver Spring. the north side of Dale Drive from Georgia Avenue to Colesville Road, and the south side of Dale Drive from Columbia Boulevard to Woodland Drive. For your convenience, we have posted a few downloadable displays that aid in the visual description of this project on the project website. We will review them as I describe the project. Display A is an aerial project vicinity map of Dale Drive showing the location of the proposed shared use path relative to nearby destinations such as schools, places of worship, parks, public transportation, and the existing network of sidewalks. The proposed shared use path is shown in red, the existing sidewalks are shown in yellow, and the existing trails are shown in purple. The total length of the new shared use path will be approximately 1 mile long. Display B shows the improvements in more detail. The large plan shown on the screen can be downloaded for review. For tonight's virtual presentation, we will use zoomed in images of the plan as I highlight several of the key features. The next several slides will show the Dale Drive shared use path in more detail. Each of these slides includes a map in the upper left corner that shows what segment of the path we are discussing. In the upper right corner of the slide is the legend highlighting what the various colors and line styles are showing. The proposed shared use path is shown on the plan in yellow. The dark black line around the path that says LOD represents the limits of disturbance. This is the area that is expected to be impacted during construction. The limit of disturbance includes the path, the grading, and the space needed to be able to construct. The orange line represents the portion of a driveway that is proposed to be reconstructed. The red line indicates the location of the proposed retaining wall. Finally, the green shaded areas represent the grass buffer and green spaces. Display B1. Beginning at the intersection with Georgia Avenue, an 8-foot wide shared use path will be on the north side of Dale Drive, and a 5 feet wide sidewalk will be on the south side of Dale Drive. Once we pass the intersection with Columbia Boulevard and Corwin Drive, the existing sidewalk will be updated to an 8-foot wide shared use path with a 5-foot wide grass buffer on the south side of Dale Drive until it reaches Luzerne Avenue to connect with the future Woodland Drive neighborhood greenway. The intersection with Columbia Boulevard will be aligned to intersect with Corwin Drive and will be narrowed to shorten the crossing distance for pedestrians. And a micro bioretention facility will be proposed on the north side of Dale Drive to treat stormwater runoff. An additional pedestrian crosswalk with refuge island is also proposed at the east leg of the intersection. The 8-foot wide shared use path with a 5-foot wide grass buffer continues on the north side of Dale Drive beyond Luzerne Avenue. Display C1 depicts the typical sections corresponding to display B1 from Georgia Avenue to Corwin Drive. The top typical section is what exists today. The bottom typical section illustrates the 5-foot wide grass buffer adjacent to the roadway and the 8-foot wide shared use path along the north side of Dale Drive, as well as the 5-foot wide grass buffer adjacent to the roadway and the 5-foot wide sidewalk along the south side of Dale Drive. The travel lanes in both directions will be narrowed down to 10.5 feet wide with concrete curb and gutter. Display C2 shows the typical sections corresponding to display B1 from Corwin Drive to Luzerne Avenue. Again, the top typical section is what exists today. The bottom typical section illustrates the 5-foot wide grass buffer adjacent to the roadway and the 8-foot wide shared use path along the north side of Dale Drive, as well as the 5-foot wide grass buffer adjacent to the roadway and the 8-foot wide shared use path along the south side of Dale Drive. The travel lanes in both directions will be narrowed down to 10.5 foot wide with concrete curb and gutter. Display B2. The 8-foot wide shared use path with a 5-foot wide grass buffer continues on the north side of Dale Drive, west of Grace Church Road, to the west of Red Oak Drive. On this segment of Dale Drive, the intersection at Grace Church Road will be realigned for better sight distance. Drainage improvements will also be included at this project. On-street parking will remain on the south side of Dale Drive beyond Crosby Road. Display B3. The 8-foot wide shared use path with a 5-foot wide grass buffer continues on the north side of Dale Drive, west of Red Oak Drive to the west of Harvey Road. Raised crosswalks will be installed at Red Oak Drive and Clement Road as part of the traffic calming strategies for Dale Drive. On-street parking will remain on the south side of Dale Drive just before the Midwood Road intersection and will continue near the vicinity of the Clement Road intersection. Display B4. The 8-foot wide shared use path with a 5-foot wide grass buffer continues on the north side of Dale Drive, west of Harvey Drive to tie into the existing sidewalk at the intersection of Colesville Road. A new raised crosswalk will be installed at the intersection of Watson Road. On-street parking will remain on the south side of Dale Drive near the vicinity of the intersection of Harvey Road. Display C3 shows the typical sections corresponding to display B2, B3, and B4 from Luzerne Avenue to Colesville Road. Again, the top typical section is what exists today. The bottom typical section illustrates the 5-foot wide grass buffer adjacent to the roadway, the 8-foot wide shared use path along the north side of Dale Drive, and the 8-foot wide on-street parking area at the locations as shown on the plan view. The travel lanes in both directions will be narrowed down to the 10.5-foot wide with concrete curb and gutter. Retaining wall example. This slide shows an example of the proposed retaining wall from a recent shared use path project constructed on Needwood Road. A similar design and style will be considered for Dale Drive. Cost and assessments. The total cost of this project is currently estimated at $10,215,000, including engineering, land acquisition, site improvement, utilities relocation, and construction. There are no properties which are considered to be specially benefited by the proposed improvement. Therefore, no properties are expected to be assessed. Exhibits. As previously discussed, several exhibits are incorporated into the public record binder for your information and consideration. The exhibits include 1, Office of Management and Budget, Dale Drive Shared Use Path and Safety Improvement, Capital Improvement Project number P502109. 2, Dale Drive Shared Use Path and Safety Improvements 70% Design Plans. 3, Written testimony regarding the Dale Drive Shared Use Path and Safety Improvement proposal provided prior to this hearing. 4, Washington Times newspaper and online advertisement proof, Montgomery County News release dated November 3, 2021, and Go Montgomery newsletter, all advertising this hearing. 5, List of attendees to be added following this hearing. 6, Hearing transcript, also to be added following this hearing. Project-related data and files can be downloaded from the project website after this hearing. Alternatively, you may contact Ms. Chang to request digital copies of the project files at angel.chang@montgomerycountymd.gov. The files will continue to be available to the public until the record of this public hearing is officially closed. As previously stated, here with us this evening is Ms. Angel Chang, Project Manager for the Dale Drive Shared Use Path, and Mr. Alec Willis, Chief of Property Acquisition. In addition, we have Ms. Jennifer Ray and Ms. Amanda Havener from the engineering consulting firm JMT, present at this hearing. I think I have one correction there. I believe we also have, or maybe instead of Eric Willis, we have Mr. Demetrius Aubert from our property acquisition section. We will be available after the hearing to answer questions regarding the construction aspect of this project. And now I'll turn things back over to Mr. Paylor.
Thank you, Mr. Sheridan, and especially for those clarifications as far as folk who have joined us on the call from property acquisition. We will now hear the testimony from those in attendance who wish to testify. To testify, please click on raised hand icon on the bottom of your screen under the reactions button to raise your hand. This is the icon that looks like a hand with the word raise hand next to it. Once given speaking rights, please clearly provide your name and address for the record prior to beginning your testimony. And because of the significant interest in this project and the number of attendees at this hearing, it will be necessary to enforce a 3-minute time limit for every testimony. So I'm requesting that all presentations taking longer than 3 minutes be summarized so as to comply with the time constraints and provide a full written testimony to submit into the record. These submissions will be fully considered along with the oral testimony heard here today. So if I could get some assistance in making sure that we get the individuals who'd like to speak in order, Lori, I'd appreciate that.
Absolutely. We do have one raised hand so far. First up, we have Mary Jeffers. Mary?
Yes, hello. Yes, my name is Mary Jeffers and I live at 1001 Dale Drive. So it's on the north side on the corner of Dale and Summit. I had two questions. One I already put in the chat. Your diagram showed that from, I forget exactly, all the way over to Colesville, that there were no sidewalks. But of course, we do have sidewalks on both sides from Colesville up to Watson. On the north side, they were put in just a few years ago with the loss of some old trees and so forth. So my question is just, are the plans that people can look at going to be revised so that that part is corrected? The second question is very specific. Do you plan to use only county land, or are there plans to acquire private land on any sections along Dale Drive? And then the third thing I wanted to say is just a comment, which is based on the relative non-heavy use of the sidewalks on both sides. I mean, they are used, they're definitely used, but not really heavy use. I wonder if maybe a better idea would be to have a sidewalk on one side and the bike path on the other, in the sense that I worry a little bit that a bike path and a pedestrian path that, you know, mixed use could be kind of dangerous.
Thank you so much. Just as a reminder, we'll allot time for questions and answers at the end of the testimony period. The purpose of the testimony period is to share your thoughts, concerns, support, and let's look at handling the question and answer portion at the end of the presentation. So with that, Lori, do we have someone else who is raised their hand?
Yes, we do. Next, we have Ed Bark. Ed, can you unmute? Mr. Bark?
Sounded like he was going to come on.
Trying to unmute here, but
oh, there he is.
Okay, it works that time. Thank you. I'm Ed Barkmeyer. I'm at 1317 Dale Drive. Okay, and I have really two comments. First, I'd like to echo the observation made by the previous speaker that putting a joint use path on a very hilly roadway is rather dangerous. All you need to be on a bicycle. What happens if the guy in front of you has his dog suddenly dart toward the street? You know, and all of a sudden you don't have a shared use anymore. You're likely to hit the dog, if not the guy. It's really a very dangerous thing. And the second piece of my concern is that this plan eliminates all on-street parking on the north side of Dale Drive. In my area in particular, the nearest side road, which is Red Oak Road, has a something like 15% grade down from Dale Drive all the way to Crosby. You really don't want to park on that if you're elderly. Okay, you don't want to park on that if you are infirm in any walking time, because you're going to be walking uphill to get to the sidewalk. Okay, so I think that is a serious concern for me. I am in the category of elderly. I'm able, but many of my visitors might not be. So I'm going to let it go at that.
Thank you so much, Ed. I appreciate you sharing your comments.
Okay, next up, I don't have a name, it's just iPhone.
This may be me since I'm here on an iPhone. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, my name is Shannon Hertzfeld, and I'm at 1531 Live Oak Drive.
Thanks, Shannon.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having this. I walk frequently on Dale Drive, and I also walk frequently with my grandsons, ages 7 and 5. I often come down Live Oak Drive to Columbia and then go up towards Georgia Avenue because that gives us a sidewalk. Under the current circumstance, I would never turn the other way and head towards Colesville with the 2 little ones with me. When I'm walking alone, if somebody's coming quickly or looks distracted in their car, I often step a few steps onto somebody's front yard. So thank you for doing this. I am not a transportation expert, but as a civilian, I'm just saying thank you for taking on the issue of making Dale Drive safer for all of us. That's it. Thank you.
Shannon, thank you for your comments.
Okay, next up, we have Brenda Freeman.
Hi, this is Brenda Freeman. I live at 1220 Dale Drive, and I have looked over the plans pretty closely, and I will continue to do so. My concern is the combination of the bike path with this sidewalk, because I don't think that will be very safe for pedestrians. And there are other areas where a bike path could be put. There's a cut through on Dale that connects to Alton Parkway, and that also goes up to Spring Street, where there already is a bike path. So that's my first concern. And my second concern, I know that there will be parking. There's some projected on my side of the street, but I'm bothered by the so much concrete being placed in, and are there other ways to reduce the amount of concrete using something permeable? That's my questions now. Thank you for my comments now, rather.
Brenda, thank you so much for sharing that information with us and sharing your comments.
All right, next up, we have Emily Fairbanks.
Hi, we just moved here a few months ago. We live at 9341 Columbia. So I think that our property would be impacted in some ways, but we're so excited about this project. We think it's wonderful. And if we would lose some parking, or if you need to, use some of our, the front of our property, we're fine with that. We think having more sidewalks and more ability to walk in our neighborhood would just be wonderful. We had that in our prior home in DC, and this would improve our ability to walk around the neighborhood and feel safe. So we support it, and it looks just wonderful. So we don't have any issues with it, and we think it would be a great improvement to be able to walk on Dale. It's been sort of one of the scariest things since we've moved here, is trying to walk on Columbia to Dale and on Dale. So we think it's a great project.
Thank you, Emily. Now, Emily, you shared your address. Would you be so kind as to tie all of this together by stating your first and your last name along with your address for the record, please?
Oh, I apologize. It's Emily Fairbanks.
And your address?
9341 Columbia Boulevard.
Thank you so very much.
Of course.
All right, next up, we have Bart Del Cemuto.
That is correct. I'm Bart Del Cemuto, and I live at 9514 Clement Road. I'd like to echo some of the comments that others have said, that I strongly support this project. I think it will make a very big difference, particularly for the Woodside Forest, but also for the Woodside Park neighborhoods. I think currently, like many, my enjoyment of the neighborhood from a walking or biking perspective is really limited by the feeling of not really being that safe as you walk along Dale today, given even with the traffic calming the speeds that we see there and the lack of kind of a dedicated sidewalk and some space with the traffic. I would also call out that I think a particular nuance to the Woodside Forest neighborhood is that we're sort of bifurcated, right? Living on Woodside and Clement, the only way to get to the other part of the neighborhood, other than going through Sligo Creek Park, is to really walk along Dale, and it tends to limit your enjoyment or your ability to do that without having a safe way to pass. It's always sort of the high tension part of any walk that you take. So again, I think that there's a huge benefit to enjoyment of the neighborhood for a lot of the residents here that could be realized through this. And again, we strongly support that. And the final thought I would add is that I'm also particularly glad to see the crosswalk at Clement, as I've observed lots of people crossing there normally, and I think it's again a bit of a harrowing experience for people that want to cross over and go to the Woodside Park neighborhood. So once again, strongly supported, and I think it will make a very big difference in the quality of life and the enjoyment, the ability to enjoy our neighborhood in a very connected and conjoined way.
Bart, thank you so much for sharing your comments.
All right, next up we have Melanie Dolan.
Good evening. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I'm Melanie Dolan, and I live at 1509 Dale Drive. And first off, to me, it is unclear why we need a bike path with Sligo Creek Trail just a quarter mile away that runs parallel to Dale Drive. I'm very supportive of sidewalk. And also, I really hope that the traffic calming can be made more attractive. Those are my only comments.
Thank you so much, Melanie. Appreciate your comments.
All right, Julie Vogel.
Hi, this is Julie Vogel. I'm at 1227 Dale Drive, and we have lived here for over 14 years. And we started out with 3 very little kids, and we are Sabbath observant, walking to synagogue in the neighborhood. And we are actually very opposed to the sidewalks and bike path, only because there are so many cars. I will echo what someone else said. There are so many cars on Dale Drive that will be parking on the side streets. And as people who walk from our house and cross Dale, who have no problem crossing Dale at Midwood, the side streets are very congested with parked cars. And if we're taking cars off of Dale, putting them onto the side streets, which also don't have sidewalks, and now you've got, I'll be walking our dog, and if you go on Crosby, between Dale and Highland, you have cars parked on both sides of the streets. You have people walking. You have delivery trucks driving by. You have people cutting through the neighborhood. You have people who live in the neighborhood driving there. And it's almost next to impossible to walk on those streets. And is much more, in my opinion, much more scary than walking on Dale, where you do actually have a designated shoulder. And so our take on it is that there's no need to appropriate that kind of money and time and effort for what is a bigger problem on the side streets, where you feel like you should be safe, but you're really not. So that's where we are.
Julie, thank you so much for sharing your comments.
Okay, next up we have Elise O'Connell.
Hi, yes. I live at 1408 Dale Drive on the south side. We've lived here since 2018 and have seen numerous accidents near our house. And it's been, it was interesting during COVID, trying to walk onto side streets because it is so there's so many cars coming down very fast. And so we are very big supporters of getting a sidewalk. And I think, there's been so much work that's already gone into determining that it's a shared use path. I think that, from my perspective, while I know that people get scared about bikes whizzing by, it's obviously much more safe to be sharing the street with a bike than a car. So I would take that any day. And I just, I think there's measures you can probably take, draw a line down the middle of it and have a side for people and a side for bikes. But I just wanted to put in my full support of it happening, and hoping that we can have a safe way of kids walking to the bus stop, etc. moving forward.
Elise, thank you so much for sharing your comments.
Okay, next we have Betsy Gressler.
Good evening. Thank you very much. My name is Betsy Gressler. I live at 1230 Dale Drive. It's on the south side between Midwood and Clement. I'm a supporter of sidewalks on Dale Drive, although I'm concerned about, to a great extent, the bike sharing path. Given the steep hills, this is an area where I can only imagine that bikes will pick up speed going downhill and will likely be going around some sharp corners, and there'll be opportunities for pedestrians to be hit by bicycles moving at a very fast rate of speed. We already see how quickly the bicycles are moving on the street with traffic, and putting them on the shared use path with pedestrians is not a good situation. I'm very concerned about the parking. It moves 100% of the parking on Dale Drive to about 40% of Dale Drive, because you're actually taking some parking away that's already on the south side of Dale. I have some personal issues about ingress and egress from my driveway that I will take up with Angel, as I have in the past. But I'd like to point out that the side streets near our home are already very congested with parking on both sides of the street, and there are no sidewalks on those side streets. Someone brought up Red Oak, someone has already brought up Clement and Midwood. There are very crowded parking situations already that will become worse. And this is at the same time that Montgomery County is considering rezoning our neighborhood to increase population density without any plan to deal with the increased parking. Thank you.
Betsy, thank you so much for providing your comments.
Okay, next we have Carla and Les Holt.
Yes, this is Les Holt. I live at 1604 Dale Drive, which is between Corwin and Luzerne. I believe the map shows that the access to Woodland Drive will be completely cut off, going directly east on Dale, where you would ordinarily go on to Woodland Drive, which would require the car to go to the top of the hill, turn right, and then turn left and almost immediately to go on to Woodland Drive. That causes not only a problem for drivers coming up and down the hill, but for people like our neighbor who, if they wish to go west on Dale, always go up Woodland Drive, turn at that little triangle, and then turn left again onto Dale in order to go west. It's unsafe to pull directly onto Dale and try to go west. There is no other way to do it safely, and I don't see any reason to cut off access to Woodland Drive heading from Dale Drive onto Woodland. It's unsafe for not only our family, but our next door neighbor, and it adds nothing to the safety of bicyclists or people walking on the sidewalk. I think my wife has something that she wishes to add as well.
Yes. Hi, if it's okay if I go ahead, this is Carla Holt,
we just didn't have two hands to raise. We're sharing a computer. Is that okay?
That's fine, Carla. Go right ahead.
Okay, and I'm still living with my husband at 1604 Dale Drive.
Always good to hear.
As we have been for 35 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Anyway, okay, another concern observation I had was, I have a concern about the speed of traffic on Dale Drive. And the section from Luzerne, where the crossway is, to Georgia Avenue can be, it's like a highway at times, the rate of speed where people travel, getting to and from the light at Georgia Avenue. And I don't see, I mean, I see a couple crosswalks put in, which I think are definitely an improvement, a couple adjustments there, but nothing that would actually reduce the speed. We walk there every night. Well, we walk out our dog like 3 times a day. And all I do is see people racing, and none of the plans I've seen on paper, in my mind, will, by picture it slowing the traffic. One option the county presented early in their stages was putting a roundabout at Columbia and Dale, which I was thrilled with the idea of thinking that would definitely slow people down. It would reduce people sprinting towards Georgia Avenue because they would have had to slow down at the roundabout. And so I just would like the county to turn their attention on traffic calming and reconsider that option. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla and Les. I appreciate both of your comments.
All right, next we have David and Gina.
Yes, hi, I'm Dina Frischman, and we are at 1211 Dale Drive. We've been here for 20 years, and we also are opposed, as some other people who live on Dale Drive, for mostly the same reasons. We do not see how the proposal will actually increase the safety. We have a shoulder. The recent additions to the shoulder that were supposed to make us safer actually force us into traffic. And these side streets are already full. And if you take away the parking, at least half of the parking, it will be a parking nightmare and a delivery nightmare.
Thank you, Dina.
All right, next we have Dana Elfin.
Hi, I'm Dana Elfin, and I've lived here since 2019. I'm at 1309 Midwood Place off of Midwood and Dale. I just want to say the existing crosswalks on Dale do not seem to really slow drivers. A lot of times you're taking your life into your hands to cross Dale. People do not respect the crosswalks. They do not slow down. So I would hope that that the county has studied this and has thought about whether what the improvements they're going to suggest will actually slow down the traffic, which is crazily fast. And I support the idea of doing something to slow down the traffic, and especially for younger people, and I mean, kids and older people. But I too have some concerns about forcing bicyclists into narrow corridors with pedestrians, some of whom, might be walking dogs or might be, using canes. So I'd like to also find out how all of this is going to work with the existing kind of safe neighborhoods, a thing that happened during COVID where a lot of the streets in the neighborhood were shut down to traffic. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. Appreciate you sharing your comments.
Next, we have Linda Williams.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Linda Williams. I'm at 1605 Dale Drive, and I'm right at the bend of, if you're coming from the Colesville Road area, I'm right at the bend. My property, as a matter of fact, and 2 other neighbors to the left of me, our land, our dirt or whatever was perked, I guess, for resiliency of something this past summer. But anyway, I've seen accidents occur right there because of speed. And as a matter of fact, someone hit a light pole right there a couple of years ago and almost caused a fire in my house because of the pole being connected, caused a electrical socket to kind of catch fire, so to speak. But anyway, I just find it to be a real danger. I mean, I'm totally for a sidewalk, but the sidewalk would then cause me to lose parking in front of my house. But I do see a lot of people who walk this neighborhood. I think during COVID, yeah, we had probably a few more bicyclists, but now that, you know, we're out of this and people are back at work, no one's really riding their bikes, but people are still walking. And it would make for a safer journey to have a sidewalk out front. But you know, and I think my property along with my neighbors are also, I think, the area where you're going to have this retaining wall, which from the looks of it, it's not the prettiest retaining wall either. But, you know, I just think it's going to just look really messy. I see Dale when you come through there, and as someone else said, yeah, I don't really think it's causing anyone to slow down. It just looks really messy. And now that it's getting darker early, it's just kind of a nightmare maneuvering through all of that. You know, maybe speed bumps or something like that. But I just really opposed to this bike path, this shared bike path and walkway. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Linda, thank you so much for sharing your testimony.
Okay, next up we have Laura.
Hi, this is Laura Wilcox. I live at 1606 Dale Drive, right next to Carla and Les Holt, who you just heard from. And I want to agree with them on all the points that they made, mainly that cutting off access from here to Woodland would be very dangerous, because that's the only way, as they said, that I can go towards Georgia Avenue. Cutting that off would, I don't understand why that is even proposed. It has never been clear to me why we would cut off access to Woodland from there, other than, I guess, for a bike path. And as people have said, we don't see that many bikes. We really don't. We're walking all the time and they're just not there. So making hardships for the people who live here for a few bicyclists does not make sense. We would also, in the current plans, lose at least one, if not two, parking spots. And that would be difficult for us. So I guess we're opposed to the bike path unless we can make it so that it doesn't create these hardships for the neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura.
Okay, next up we have Corinne Hart.
Great, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Corinne Hart. I live at 1212 Dale Drive. And I wanted to share a couple of thoughts. One, just to give some background, I've lived here for several years. I have two children under 4 years old, and we walk along the road all the time, every day. And every time we feel like our lives are in danger. And in fact, at one point trying to cross at the Alton crosswalk, me and my daughter were almost narrowly hit by a car that was speeding through the crosswalk. I also just wanted to mention that a pedestrian has been hit and killed while walking on this road, and that in some of my advocacy for this work, I was able to document back to at least 25 years of residents in this neighborhood pleading with the county to improve the safety. So I am really excited about this project and the work that the county has done to put the design together. A couple of things. I think the parking component is an issue that the county needs to think about. When we first started having these conversations with MCDOT years ago, I believe the residents made it pretty clear that they didn't want to lose all parking on one side of the road. The second piece is that the traffic calming was supposed to be the first step in one part of the solution. And so the county really needs to finish the project by connecting the traffic calming to the sidewalk or the path. As people have stated, the traffic calming right now pushes you out into the road. And so it was really supposed to be the first iterative step to increasing safety on the road. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that at a planning board hearing last year, the planning board recommended lowering the speed limit on Dale Drive, and I urge MCDOT to look at that recommendation and to please implement it alongside other interventions to ensure cars are adhering to a lower speed limit, because speed is one of the really critical factors making us all feel incredibly unsafe when we're walking with our families on the road. Thank you.
Corinne, thank you so much for sharing your testimony.
Okay, next we have Ross Jesperson. I apologize.
I appreciate it. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
My name is Ross Jesperson, resident at 1315 Dale Drive at the corner of Dale Drive and Red Oak. For background, I have a civil engineering degree and work in the construction and planning industry. I'm also a commuter cyclist to Bethesda. I'm supportive of making Dale Drive safer for pedestrians and cyclists and providing more accessibility within the neighborhood and connections to other destinations. And it's very apparent that Dale Drive is currently designed in a vehicular first mentality, and that any improvement will lead to more pedestrians and bike use within the neighborhood. That being said, over reviewing the plans that have been put forward for this project, in my experience driving and cycling on other areas that have both paths and roadway nearby, such as Beach Drive, Sligo Parkway, Capitol Crescent Trail, and Little Falls Parkway, cyclists will still ride in the road even if a path or shared use path is available. Because you can get point to point faster and you avoid the traffic, solar traffic on the path, like with walkers, dogs on leashes, strollers, and other things like that. There are many community discussions on Nextdoor and Facebook regarding this topic, and I don't see that going well here either. I think a further study into an alternative that includes a standard sidewalk and some protected climbing lanes for cyclists in the uphill sections of Dale Drive may be a better alternative, and this alternative could allow shoulder areas to be maintained for parking, bus stops, delivery vehicles, etc. And then a concern that I have about the current plan and any future plan about this is the number of driveway crossings with a sidewalk or trail. Is that any vehicle parked in the way of the trail or sidewalk ultimately makes the trail or sidewalk useless. And it appears to me that some of the biggest opponents of this plan are the Dale Drive residents that would be then blocking the trail. So I think there really does need to be a plan or way to deal with that potential that makes the entire project useless if the trail is going to get blocked anyway at driveway crossings. Just a couple other notes. I'm a little bit concerned about a continuous curb being implemented along Dale. This could lead to concentrated water runoff flows into driveways and side streets. Particularly driveways or lots where the property is lower than Dale Drive at a lower elevation. You'd be introducing a concentrated flow runoff from the street into a property that didn't previously exist, potentially overwhelming existing drainage capacity or leading to water intrusion in people's basements. So I think that needs to be looked at. I'm a proponent of the raised crosswalks on Dale, particularly at Red Oak. I see a lot of people crossing there, and I would want to see all crosswalks on Dale become those raised crosswalks as well, as a traffic calming measure. I think that should be consistent for all the crosswalks. And then going forward, should construction of this project happen, would recommend a working hours restriction during the construction phase, since this is a highly residential neighborhood. Working in the construction industry, I see that noise restrictions alone are reactionary, whereas working hours restrictions are basically proactive. They're communicated up front with contractors, and everybody is then aware of them and they're accounted for. And it doesn't, with a noise restriction, when it's violated, the damage is already done. Whereas a working hours restriction is proactive and prevents the, damage or infraction from occurring in the first place. That's all I have.
Thank you so much, Ross. We appreciate your comments.
Next up, we have, David and Rebecca Brianow.
Hi, David Breniatowski. I'm over at 1407 Dale Drive. Thank you all for putting this together and for the work that's been put into this plan. I want to second a lot of what others have said, primarily regarding the speed of people going down Dale Drive. I'm at 1407, which is literally across the street from where Dale and Grace Church intersect. When we've been here for about 5 years. When we first moved in, within the first year, on a number of different occasions, we actually ended up with 3 different cars on our lawn, well into our lawn, because of people trying to turn from Grace Church onto Dale. Since then, there have been some improvements made to Dale, to traffic at that intersection, but those improvements in practice have actually just moved the site of the accidents down to Dale and Crosby. And so I very much support the statements that were made previously regarding anything that can be done to slow down the traffic. I would support a roundabout either at Grace Church and Dale or at Columbia and Dale. I would also support any other sorts of traffic calming measures. I like the idea of a shared use path, but I don't necessarily see that as absolutely critical. I think the critical thing here is really making sure that that our kids are safe. I have a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I don't let them on our front lawn because I don't want them to get hit by cars. I'll just leave it at that.
Great. Thank you so much for your testimony, David.
Okay, next up is Charlene Reeves.
Hello. Hello.
Hi, how are you, Charlene?
Hi.
We can hear you.
Hi, I'm Charlene Reeves and I live at 425 Pershing Drive. That's about 2 doors away from Dale Drive below Colesville, between Colesville and Wayne. And the reason I'm participating is I'm interested in the developments north of us. And like everybody else that has spoken, I'm really concerned with the safety of Dale. It's classified as arterial, and it is. It's a giant artery that slices through white neighborhoods with small crowded streets like Pershing. And it seems slightly out of balance that this wonderful, theoretically great project has 2 elements that induce, at least 2, that induce more danger. If you walk on hike and bike trails along Sligo Creek, you know that the intersection of bikes and humans walking along the same path is dangerous and annoying. So that would continue with the plans as they are now. And then secondly, the simple quality of the walk itself is made miserable by speeding cars. That section below from Colesville to Georgia to Woodland is has more traffic calming measures than our section. The signs are larger, you have a speed limit, but it's terrifying to try to cross Dale. And we have large numbers of pedestrians that come from town and all that neighborhood towards the park, and then everybody walking towards town. And I watch pedestrians, strollers, elderly people, everybody crosses Dale and walks straight down Pershing past my house, no sidewalks. So what my concern is that MDOT should address first and foremost just the simple safety of pedestrians and drivers there on Dale, all of Dale. And to keep in mind that Xenia is going to impact traffic patterns for lots of Dale. We have a child care center on Colesville that is going to be adding to the complexity of traffic patterns that will affect both sides of Dale, on both sides of Colesville. And we have things, simple measures like raised crosswalks that we don't have on my section of Dale. So it seems like before we get all the way to lofty goals envisioned in this plan, we should at least address the basic safety of either driving or walking on Dale and our ludicrous crosswalks that are incredibly dangerous. So that was it. Thank you.
Charlene, thank you so much for sharing your comments.
Hello.
Is this Miss Pam?
Hi, yes.
Hi, Pam. How are you?
I was waiting for my introduction.
Yeah, you certainly did miss that, huh? We apologize.
My name is Pam Kelly. I live at 9339 Columbia Boulevard, the south side of the last stretch of Dale, which is actually Columbia Boulevard, just prior to Georgia Avenue. And I guess I just have a couple of comments, you know, reiterating what others have already said, particularly on this stretch of Dale, the speeds of cars are out of control, particularly those coming downhill, you know, right when they're coming west and they meet up with, excuse me, Corwin Drive. And then they're racing to catch the last 2 seconds of the yellow light up at Georgia Avenue is out of control. And likewise, cars that are crossing over Georgia Avenue and heading east down our block, you know, are also very excessive. And recent speed calming measures that have been put in place are relatively ineffective. They don't seem to slow anyone. And we have children who wait for school buses right at the corner of Corwin, the big intersection there, Corwin and Dale and Columbia. And, you know, we have a lot of concerns about the speeds, even on a normal day when the kids aren't present. But I think that something similar to a roundabout may be more effective and in slowing traffic. And so I would like that reconsidered. Excuse me. Second item is specific to the shared use path. And I note that on our block in particular, there's currently a sidewalk on the north side of the street, and there's nothing on our side, on the south side. And a sidewalk is proposed on our side. And then it looks like a conversion of the sidewalk, which is on the north side, into a shared use path. You know, I do not support a shared use path. I agree that I think bicyclists and those that I often see coming down Dale Drive to get to the Sligo Creek path are coming at, pretty high rates of speed, and tend to prefer to drive right in the middle of the street. So in my opinion, I think sidewalks would be sufficient. I think that a shared use path would only be used for bicyclists and only serve majority of the cyclists who are coming from outside of our neighborhood. And then my final comment is, in just looking at the various displays, I was a little bit concerned because it seemed like our block of Dale didn't have any landscaping features highlighted on the display, whereas the remainder of Dale Drive did. And I was, I guess, a little bit curious about that as to why that might be. I know this isn't a Q&A period, but I would like, some sort of consideration for either planting, landscaping or trees, anything that will be disturbed through whatever the process ends up being. I'd like to see that, included in the plan as well. And that is all I have.
Pam, thank you so much for sharing your comments.
Sure thing.
Okay, next we have Betsy Gressler.
Hi, I already spoke.
Did you have
I don't have an additional
question?
comment.
Okay, so you
I
just
do not
have-
have an additional question. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, that is the last of our raised hands then.
Well, great. Thank you so much. That concludes the speakers who have expressed an interest in speaking tonight. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? If so, please click the icon to raise your hand. And please be reminded that written testimony and comments may be submitted as well and will be considered with the same weight as oral testimony. And it looks like Ms. Freeman has raised her hand.
Freeman?
Brenda, you can go ahead.
Yes. The only I have is concerning the parking that would be put on essentially my side of the street. And what I'm concerned about, people would be parked too close to my house, because at the present time, I use the shoulder to creep out very carefully because I'm right behind the crest of the hill. Once it starts going, start going down the road, but until that point, they have picked up speed. And so I actually have 6 seconds to get out of my driveway. So that's a concern about not having cars parked up so close that I can't make a safe exit because I wouldn't be able to see, because this would put me into the road essentially if there's no shoulder. And my second concern is actually about if this plan goes through with the walls. The walls are usually across Colesville, going towards Piney Branch, really ugly. And if there is support, I would essentially like to see brick walls that reflect and look like most of the homes in the area. And that's all. Thank you.
Brenda, thank you so much for adding to your testimony. Would you be so kind as just to state your full name and your address again for the record, please?
I'm Brenda Freeman, and I live at 1220 Dale Drive.
Thank you so very much.
Okay, next up, we have Brian Trump.
Hi, I live at 9311 Woodland Drive, which is near the intersection of Columbia and Woodland at Dale. I had to join in a little bit late because of a prior commitment, but I just wanted to say that I really like the design as it is. And I mean, obviously this is a public process, so we can, get good input. But I reviewed the design documents in the comment sections, and to me, the shared path reminded me of the shared path off Sligo Parkway. And we have, bicyclists on that and pedestrians, but then usually the people on, road bikes take the street, and that's what they prefer. So it seems like for us, we've got kids, and I don't know, it looks good. And I liked the updates to the kind of pinch point at Columbia, the added walkways, the fact that Woodland was stopped coming off of Dale to slow people coming to the pedestrian walk space. And I think that there are some good points raised about the raised sidewalks and crossings of Dale for safety, definitely. But the overall concept, I just wanted to add that I liked it, and I'm definitely hoping something like that comes through for me and my family. So thanks for this and for the forum.
Brian, thank you so much for sharing your comments.
Okay, next up we have Chris Reynolds.
Hi, thank you. I really want to chime in and echo what the last caller said. He captured many of the things that I was going to say. My name is Chris Reynolds. I live at 406 Hamilton Avenue in the Sewicka neighborhood, which is across 29 from the Woodside neighborhood, from that portion of Dale Drive. I strongly support the suggested new pattern here. I think it's really exceptional to have a sidewalk on both sides of Dale, a separated sidewalk on both sides of Dale for much of the length, as well as the 8-foot shared use path. I have a lot of experience every single day of walking and biking along Sligo Creek on the opposite side of Colesville, where the path is less than 8 feet in most of the area. And while as one of the people giving testimony said, it is somewhat annoying to have the intersection of bikes and pedestrians, it is not a major safety hazard. And as the last caller said, people who really want to book it on a bike are going to do that in the road rather than on the shared use path. But what it will do to have the shared use path is to allow people who are uncomfortable being in the road go ahead and do that biking on the shared use path where it's not safe to do that under the current configuration. So I think anything we do to make being a pedestrian, being a bicyclist, marginally more convenient, marginally safer is to the net positive. I also think it's not a major detriment to have cars be mildly inconvenienced. I think as a society, we need to be moving towards more active modes of transportation and away from cars. And anything we do to shift that balance even slightly is definitely to the positive. Thank you so much for your hard work. I really like the plans.
Chris, thank you so much for your comments.
All right, next we have Elena and Joel.
Hello, this is Elena Zaitsev. I live at 1224 Dale Drive. First, I'd like to thank you for moving this project forward. It's been a long time coming, and also for providing this forum for comment. I'd like to echo a couple of previous comments made, and I do have some concerns about the stormwater management, especially with the additional continuous curb and the new retaining walls on the north side. Even now, even though we currently have water, draining into grass and yards on the north side, it will now obviously run downhill. And the current drains, especially I've noticed at Midwood and other places, already overflow during storm events and pool and create a dangerous situation. And I can't imagine it will be better with additional curbs. So I'm hoping that there's consideration given to that and some mitigation applied. I also wanted to mention that given the parking limitations and additional parking use of the south side where my house is, the placement of the crosswalk signs, which we currently have, needs to be considered as part of any updates. And the placement of the signs needs to provide as much space as possible for parking, since some of those now prevent some of the space to be used. And the last note is that in the plan provided, it was not clear that the existing retaining walls and landscaping such as that are marked, including in front of my house and my neighbors' houses. I would anticipate, based on the plan, that some of these walls would be disturbed as part of the construction, and so they would then need to be rebuilt in some way. And it would be beneficial if those were already marked on the plan and accounted for. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Elena. Appreciate your comments.
Okay, next we have Brenda Freeman.
No, I'm sorry, I can't get my hand found.
Oh, I can get your hand. I'm sorry, I'll get it down for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's it.
Is that it?
That's
So,
it.
so once again, I'll ask just for one last time, if there's anyone else who'd like to submit some verbal testimony, please raise your hand and do so now.
Okay, we have David and Dina.
The redo.
Oh, hi, yeah, this is David Fushman.
Hi, David.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. How are you?
Hi, this is David Fushman, 1211 Dale Drive. My wife Dina already spoke before. I just want to add to the conversation that as a person who lives on the north part of the north side of Dale Drive, I am very much concerned about this project because it will not improve our safety. It will create problems with parking, significant problems. The retaining wall doesn't look pretty. It will not improve how our beautiful Dale Drive looks like. And in addition to this, I already have concerns that were mentioned by the very first person, to what extent this project will affect our private property, to what extent it will be a county part of the road, and to what extent it will go into our private property. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, David.
Okay, next we have Melanie Dolan.
Hello again. I did speak earlier. I would like to echo an earlier comment about the hills on Dale and the speed of cyclists. And I'm concerned about being able to pull out of my driveway. I'm at 1509 Dale Drive and live almost at the top of one of the hills. And I'm thinking about cyclists coming down the hill and who has the right of way in terms of pulling out. Would the bicyclists be following the rules of the road, or would they be following the rules of a trail where, of course, they would have the right of way? And I could see that this could be pretty complicated, trying to get out onto Dale Drive from a driveway. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. Okay. So again, I appreciate and we appreciate from the Department of Transportation all of the testimony. We thank you for that. And seeing that everyone who wishes to speak has had an opportunity to do so, this concludes the oral testimony portion of this public hearing. And so now we will move into the question and answer session. So again, the rules are similar. If you'd like to submit a question, please click the icon to raise your hand. And if you haven't done so already, you are also welcome to type your question into the chat box.
Okay, first up, we have Linda Williams.
Hi, as I stated, this is Linda Williams, 1605 Dale Drive. And as I stated earlier that, I guess it was July or so, that you all came through and did some surveying of my property along with 1603 and 1601, I think to perk the dirt or something. But I'm just trying to figure out, I've been wanting to know how this is going to impact my property. I spoke to someone some time ago, and because I was planning to put in a retaining wall, and if you're going to come behind and remove my retaining wall and put up this other wall, you know, it's just going to be a mess. And so I'm just trying to figure out how this is going to impact my property. Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. Is Angel or anyone able to field that question, or?
I don't know if we could share a plan sheet there for 1605, or do we know off the top of our head what the impacts are there?
Dan, this is Amanda. I pulled up the plans just on my own screen. It's right across from Luzerne Avenue, which I think would be on map B1 or 2. If we could go back to those slides maybe to look at, but this is an area where there is a proposed retaining wall as part of the project that would be on the back side of the proposed shared use path.
So the soil testing was done for geotechnical properties of the soil to build a retaining wall there. And
correct.
So I think we can maybe have an offline meeting with Linda Williams to go over the specific impacts to her property. Would that be helpful?
Yes, that would be helpful. Yes, very much so.
So I think I'm going to suggest that you reach out to Angel Chang and just set up a meeting. I don't know if that's convenient to you, where we can either meet you in the field, show you exactly what's going to happen, or we can do it over the computer too, if you prefer that.
I prefer probably in the field, and I would probably like to speak with my neighbors because I'm sure they're interested too in how this is going to impact their property.
Yeah, so we can do that. Go
okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have a question from Carla and Les Holt.
Okay, so this is Carla Holt. And I'm not sure I was reading the plans correctly, but from the testimony people were given, is it being suggested that parking areas, not exactly parking spaces, but the amount of area in front of owners' homes is being reduced on the north side of Dale? They're not going to have parking, is that correct? That was a question.
Yes, hi, this is Angel Chen from MCDOT.
Yeah, hi, Angel.
Hi. So you're correct, and we have showed the same a similar design back during the planning phase of of this project, where we're utilizing a lot of those spaces for the proposed share use path, so that we are not impacting the property we're minimizing the impact to the property in that way.
So you're minimizing the impact to the property, but is there going to be okay, for example, I guess we live on the south side. We live on the south side. So will our neighbors on the north side, will they still have room in front of their house to park cars for visitors in their own?
Not along Dale Drive. And that's part of the putting the curb in to narrow down the travel lane to slow people down.
Okay, so I want to raise an alarm here. That's going off in my head. If people are now are visiting on the north side or living on the north side of Dale are now parking their cars on the south side of Dale, they have to cross Dale Drive with no crosswalks, with cars tearing up and down. When they didn't have to cross before, we're putting more pedestrians right smack in the middle of Dale Drive. Am I right?
No, yeah, and I understand your concern. You're correct.
It's a big concern. That's a big concern. Do you know, Linda, who was talking just moments ago, is my neighbor across the street. If we want to talk to each other, there's too many cars whizzing by to have a conversation from either side of the street. So we have to cross the street and we have to wait. These cars are tearing down, and you run as soon as you start running across, lo and behold, a car appears. And none of the changes that I have seen address the speed on that part of Dale Drive. And now you're going to have Linda and her neighbor Jay and her other neighbors and all along Dale Drive, running back and forth across Dale Drive to get to their cars, or their visitors have to go to their cars. Anyway, that to me, I apologize, I didn't zero in on that before, but it's quite alarming. It's quite alarming.
Well,
You're putting on a walk, you're putting on a place for bicyclists, but you're removing people's ability to safely park in front of homes without having to cross a dangerous street.
Again, we appreciate your comments, and this is a question and answer and not a debate session. So
yeah, okay.
Let's make sure that we
Yeah, I
focus
know.
our,
I know.
I understand, and I understand
just,
this could be charged, so we appreciate that. But I just want to make
right.
sure we play by the rules here.
Right, it's not a debate. I guess I just,
Yeah.
maybe if you can put that into the testimony part, or I'll add something. But
right,
I didn't realize, obviously, that's why I wanted to know about the parking.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Elena and Joel.
Hi, yes, thank you. So I had a question about the crosswalks at Dale and Clement. So currently, I don't know if you want to go back to that slide. Currently, there is one crosswalk that goes pretty much from my house right across Clement, where the kids' bus stop is. And then there's a proposed raised sidewalk just next to it. Is the idea that the raised raised crosswalk is going to—
Isn't that crazy?
The raised crosswalk is going to replace the existing, the one on the other side? Or are we going to have two crosswalks next to each other? So you want the Dale and Clement piece, but
I think it's B3, Lori.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I don't. Yeah, there you go. So you have proposed, and then there's one already exists. Anyway, that's.
Yes, so this is Angel from MCDOT again. I believe we're keeping both crosswalk, if I'm not mistaken, Amanda?
That's correct. So the proposed raised crosswalk on the western leg of the intersection will be in addition to the existing crosswalk location.
Okay, and then the existing crosswalk is not going to then be raised, but.
That one is not proposed to be raised at this time, no.
Okay. That seems all about it. Thanks, that's all I have.
Okay, next we have Linda Williams.
Okay, I'm piggybacking on what Carla said, and I'm just asking the question. Currently, well, first I'm going to state this. Currently, because how busy the street is, I back into my parking, my driveway, which is relatively narrow. And if my parking out front is taken away, and I have this mumble jumble of stuff out in front of my house, it's going to make it really hard for me to back into my driveway. Then therefore, I'm going to have to pull in and then try to back out of it in the morning into this busy street, which already is very busy in the morning when I leave for work. But I guess my question is to that is, where am I supposed to park, or where are my guests supposed to park when I have people? Here it is, when the holidays come up and I've got people, where are they supposed to park? And we already have people who are saying how they don't want, which I can understand. That's understandable that people don't want people coming in from Dale to park on the side streets, taking up their parking. What's going to happen with that? Thank you. Hello?
Does anybody from the design team want to comment about that, just in general, or just to say that there'll be an evaluation of these comments, and that's this particular question as we move forward and take a look at the design?
Yes, definitely, Michael. We will look at the parking situation,
okay.
Evaluate. I know it's especially challenging at the 1605 currently. We'll have to look at that in the proposed as well. And yes, there will be parking is going to be different, but we think there will still be adequate parking both along Dale Drive and along the side streets with good pedestrian access from the side streets to houses in between blocks. So, but we can look at the overall issue of parking and maybe try to identify a few more locations to add it in.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay, next we have Charlene Reeves. Ms. Reeves, can you unmute yourself, please?
I'm sorry, Charlene Reeves, 425 Pershing. My question has to do with in the overall implementation of the plan, what measures will be realized in terms of just basic safety for pedestrians and cars. And that's in terms of calming the traffic, a speed limit that is will still handle the traffic but not endanger pedestrians and drivers. And I can't find that in the plan. So is that part of the plan? Things just to make it safer?
Yes, overall, part of the plan is a traffic calming throughout the entire corridor here. I believe the speed limit will be 25 miles per hour in this section, and through a variety of measures such as a raised crosswalk, which is essentially a wide speed bump, and narrowing of the lanes, and you know, some of the existing features that are out there where there are pedestrian islands. The overall goal is to lower the speed limit, and then, you know, one of your questions was pedestrian safety, and by providing the pedestrian and bicycle path, that gives a, excuse me, that gives a place for pedestrians.
Thank you very much. Also, when you say entire corridor, what are we talking there in the boundaries of the entire corridor?
For this project, it's essentially from Georgia Avenue to Colesville Road.
So the rest of Dale is just has to work to get the same sort of safety measures?
This project is between Georgia Avenue and Colesville Road.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next we have a question from Ross Jesperson.
Yeah, I had a question on proposed like maintenance for the path. Who is responsible for, you know, clearing leaves in the fall, snow in the winter from a shared use path in a residential area? And what would be how often is a path like this supposed to be resurfaced? And what budget from the county does that then come from?
So the first part of the question is who's responsible for raking leaves and shoveling snow. That would be the adjacent property owner's responsibility, just as it is with the sidewalk. Okay. And yes, so the county is responsible for maintenance of the actual path itself. You know, over time it may degrade and it will need to be resurfaced and things like that. And with all of our capital projects, we put in an amount to handle the maintenance over time. So it's the county has a Department of Transportation has a maintenance budget for paths and roads.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Before we move on, I just wanted to swing back to Charlene's question about, and possibly some other folk on the call, about some of the safety concerns. And there's another division within the Department of Transportation that handles safety matters, speed, things like that. So issues that are not being captured by this project, other segments of Dale Drive, can be routed to that division. And I'm going to ask Lori at the end of this hearing to provide a web link or contact link for everybody to reach out to that other division if they have some additional safety questions or concerns.
All right. Next, we have Carla and Les Holt.
Yes, hi, it's Carla again. I have a question. When the county first started looking at this project, the residents had requested sidewalk, and the county ultimately supported a shared path instead of a sidewalk. But when the sidewalks were being reviewed, would the parking spaces have been all eliminated on the north side also? Or is it because it's a shared path that it's being eliminated? They're being eliminated.
I believe the answer to that is yes. Maybe there could have been a few more spaces saved, but the overall answer, it would be a similar type design, just with a 5 foot instead of 8 foot.
So not as many parking spaces would have been eliminated.
I'm not exactly sure. I mean, we can go back and research that
Okay.
off the top of my head, but in general, it would be a similar plan.
Okay. I would like that, to know that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next we have David and Dina.
Okay, I would like to get a clarification, particularly for this time of the year when we collect leaves. If I'm on the north side of Dale Drive, when there will be shared path, where am I supposed to put the leaves? On the shared side? Or where would I put leaves that the county will collect them? Can you clarify this?
Yes, in the green space on either side of the path. If there's enough space between the path and the road, you can put them there, or you can put them behind the path closer to your house. Either place would work.
And another question following up the previous one, will I be responsible for removing snow or cleaning snow from the shared path near my house?
Yes, the county regulations for any sidewalk or bike path is the adjacent property owner is responsible for creating a path. I think it's like 3 feet wide.
But the path
within
24
hours.
8 feet wide.
Right. I think you only have to. I mean, you could clear the whole thing, but I think the requirement is like a.
Yeah, but how I will know which part I need to clean and which not?
Oh, well, that's up to you.
That's unclear entirely.
Okay, next we have Betsy Gressler.
Hi, my name is Betsy Gressler. I'm at 1230 Dale Drive, which is on the south side of Dale Drive. I'm the lucky winner of some parking spaces in front of my home. Are the parking spaces considered things that I'm responsible for shoveling? Or will the county be plowing large amounts of snow that obstruct the parked cars from being able to get to the street? And I'm asking this because right now, when the street is plowed, the pretreatment material that's put down on the street, when the plows create a barrier at the bottom of my driveway, the pretreating materials essentially form a berm of ice at the bottom of my driveway that is often, even if it's only like a 4 or 5 inch snowfall, it can often be well over a foot of solid ice at the bottom of my driveway to chip through. So what are my responsibilities for the parking spaces that are not, I understand I'm still responsible for my driveway. Do I inherit any responsibility for the parking spaces in front of my house?
No, there's no requirement to plow a parking space on a road. I mean, if they remain unplowed, then they become non-usable. But so that's you know, if somebody wants to use it, they can shovel it out, or you can make a request to the county to, if you have an ice blockage or something like that, you can make a request for service from the county through 311, dial 311 or on the internet as well.
Okay, next we have Dana Elfin.
Hi, you might have answered this and said to email the Montgomery County Traffic Ops, but I'm wondering whether speed bumps have ever been considered on Dale, and if so, why not? And also, are they going to be considered as part of this safety improvement project?
So the proposed raised crosswalks are essentially act like a speed hump. So there are a few proposed raised crosswalk throughout the corridor as traffic calming.
Okay, that's it for our raised hands. We do have some questions in the chat. Do you have any idea as to how high the retaining walls will be?
Hi, this is Angel from MCDOT. Yes, we sort of looked at it really quick. And if you have specific questions if you have questions specific to your property, please email me at angel.chang@montgomerycountymd.gov. That way I can get you the exact information to you and answer any questions you might have specific to your property.
Okay, next question. Are speed humps on Dale being considered to slow the traffic?
So I think we just touched on that with the raised crosswalks act similar to a speed hump. So there are some proposed raised crosswalks to act as traffic calming in the corridor.
Okay, next question. What is the deadline for submitting written comments? And I believe
that's December 1st.
Yes, December 1st. I think you have a slide on that, Lori.
Yes, let me just move back. There we are. Okay, let's see. Does the project envision land that is not already owned by the county at any point along Dale Drive?
So for the most of our proposed share use path, it will be built within the existing county right-of-way. It might impact some of the front yard during construction, and we call those temporary construction easement. But then we will restore it back to the original condition with grass or landscaping to make sure that it looks right after the construction. But for the most part, the shared use path will be within the county right of way.
Okay, great. I do have a question here regarding the speed limit. However, I believe, Dan, you had made mention that it would be reduced to 25 miles per hour.
Can Angel or Amanda confirm that? I believe that's true. 25 mile per hour.
Yes.
Proposed
yes, that
speed
is
limit.
the intent.
Yes.
Let's see. Is it possible to show an example of the proposed raised crosswalk? I think for that, if you want to email Angel Cheng directly, she can probably send you some pictures, or Angel, do you have something that you could send?
Yes, please email me and I'll get you a picture of it.
Okay. There's
All right.
a good, Okay. It seems like the MoCo Traffic Office should be involved in the planning for this project, since so many of the concerns raised about the proposed changes relate to potential impact on parking and traffic. How can these issues be divided?
So they are not divided. We do have members from the Division of Traffic Operations as part of our design team. And so we consult with them and they review our plans, and they are part of the design team.
Okay. A lot of comments. Is there enforcement of the current speed camera on Dale? How high will the raised crosswalk be?
This is Angel again. I believe there are occasionally speed cameras on Dale. I believe it was there temporarily a couple years ago, and I'm not sure if they're still there. But the cameras are being monitored and operated by our Department of Police, and so we don't have control over whether they're being placed out there or not. And then in regards to the crosswalk, I don't have a specific height right now. I would have to look it up for you. But what usually happens is the raised crosswalk would be at the same height as the curb ramp that is leading up to it, so that it will be flush.
Okay. We do have a raised hand, but before, I just want to remind everyone that we do have a hard stop at 9 p.m. It is currently 8:48, but if you think of any questions after we end tonight, please feel free to contact Angel Chen at montgomerycountymd.gov. And with that, let's hear from Ross Jesperson.
Sure. As we're getting to the end here, I was just hoping that somebody could speak to next steps. You know, where do we go from here? What's the process look like towards a final approval, final design? You know, where are we going?
Do you have the design schedule for final design?
Yes, I do. So in terms of design, our goal is to collect everyone's comment by December 1st, and then we review everyone's testimonies and input, and then we'll adjust the design as needed. And then the 90% design milestone is expected in the early first quarter of 2022, and we anticipate the final design to complete by the end of summer of 2022. And this project schedule is also posted on the project website.
But this is Michael Paylor. I just want to add that all of these things are going to be pending a review by myself as the hearing officer, and whatever conclusions being submitted to the Director of Transportation, and that'll dictate how things will play out. And I do believe, I don't think there's an incredibly formalized schedule on when those comments are going to be submitted to the Director's office. Am I correct, Lori?
No, not at this time.
Yeah.
And thank you, Michael. And I, obviously we'll do our best to make this process go as smoothly as possible. And so, we'll try to make it happen.
Yeah.
As quickly
Yeah.
as
My
possible.
experience as a hearing officer is that compiling all these comments, even following the deadline, it takes several weeks, upwards of 2 to 4 weeks to review and submit recommendations to the Director's office and get a final sign off on that. So we're probably talking in January of 21, but probably the first half of January, in January of 22, when we should be determining how we're moving forward in this.
Okay, we have a question from Pam Kelly.
Yeah, I guess had two questions. One was, is there a planned crosswalk currently, or is a raised crosswalk rather, currently in the plans at that large intersection at Corwin, Dale, Columbia? No.
Do you guys know?
This is Amanda Havener with JMT. At this time, none of the crosswalks at that intersection are proposed to be raised.
But there is an additional crosswalk proposed there that has an island similar to the one that's at the island at the crosswalk there already. And with the proposed narrowing of the lanes and the additional mid-block island, we think that will be a traffic calming as well.
Interesting. Is there a reason that the roundabout concept was taken off the table in the plans? My concern is what we currently have, both at the entrance to the dogleg at Columbia Boulevard and right at the Corwin, the portion of Columbia Boulevard or Dale Drive right at Corwin. People have plowed right over those small islands and literally taken the signs down. So they're not calming a whole heck of a lot. In fact, they're almost more of a hazard because they're not easily, I guess, seen by speeding drivers. So I'm wondering, was any further consideration given to attempts at making that intersection any safer other than narrowing a lane again?
Yes, and we'll look into this intersection a little bit more, and we had considered the roundabout during the planning phase of this project, and ultimately this configuration for this intersection was the one that was recommended by the planning board as well as approved by the county council. So so that's where we are. But we will look into additional traffic calming and safety improvement for this particular intersection as we move forward to this project.
That would be great. Thanks.
Okay, that's all we have for questions. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Yeah, thank you again for everyone participating in the Q&A. We're running up on 9 o'clock. It's about 8:56, and based on the fact that we don't have any more questions, we will conclude this hearing at this time. So please note that you can also email your questions to the project manager, Ms. Angel Chang, after the hearing. And as a reminder, we will be keeping the record open for 2 weeks. Comments and written testimony are due by Wednesday, December 1st. And of course, according to the graphic, December 1st at 7 o'clock p.m. I think earlier in the presentation, I said 6 o'clock. We'll go with 7 o'clock just to make sure that there's clarity. And again,
that is correct, Michael.
Okay, thank you. Additional written testimony may be submitted by email and must be received by the close of this hearing record, and submission should be sent to Angel Chang, PE or professional engineer, and her email is angel.chang@montgomerycountymd.gov, or these comments can be submitted via online comment forms on the project webpage at the following link, which you see on your screen, https://www.montgomerycountymd.gov, and that's again /DOT-/projects/Dale Drive/ and on the screen index HTML. And certainly appreciate you all participating, and thank you for your comments and questions. And at this time, the public hearing is now concluded. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.